Debbie Small. She wasn't certain she could come. Joan Coco is not coming. Why am I checking? Karen.
Which one?
Oh, Janowski.
Yeah.
Karen F.
Yes.
Karen Panay. Yes. Marilyn.
Yes.
Nancy T. John Parsons.
Here.
Sally Hoyt. Jackie.
Here.
And Rosemarie. And Jean Pratt.
Yes.
All right. This is a little marked up, but I am going to send around this chart with everybody's names on it. And it has some telephone numbers and email addresses. I just want to make sure I have everybody's correct telephone number. And if you use a cell phone, what I will try to do in the future is if I send something out via email, I will send you a text message that will say, check your email. All right? So I'm gonna pass it that way. So, thank you all for coming. Today is a special meeting that our one and only topic is the new senior center. It has been a number of months now, and I thought it would be a good time to get everybody together and talk about experiences. But I also have a plan to my madness. And actually, I thank Marilyn for helping me clearly define what that plan should be. She was a big help because I almost canceled because I thought this is not going to be productive, but I think it's going to be very productive. So the first thing, and if Chris could share my slides. Oh, and welcome to our guests. Chi Rowan, welcome. Glad you could make it.
Thank you.
To our meeting. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just provide just a little bit of background. Please excuse these slides. They were like made by a fifth grader in middle school. So, but I think they'll work. So as of this point, we have 3 site locations and 3 building room layouts. Proposed, I should say, proposed. One is Simon's Way, which is a community center with dedicated senior space as it's being proposed. Oakland Road, which is a community center with dedicated senior space. And Pleasant Street, which would be a senior center only. So we have those 3 options in front of us. And as I said, Saturday, there are pluses and minuses, we know that, but Reading is not making any new land, so we are going to have to deal with what we've got. We also had 3 community forum meetings and 1 stakeholder meeting. Now, the stakeholder meeting was on February 7th when Recalc and COA met together, and Rachel went through the slides for the first time. On February 13th, there was a Zoom community forum, which to solicit feedback. And I'm sorry, but I don't have the attendance numbers, but the attendance numbers were fabulous. For this
Just 70?
So the first one on Zoom, we had right around 54, give or take. The second one, I say we had 80, and then this past Saturday we had right around 50. I think just over between 50 and 50.
And everybody noticed that, of course, I have to have something wrong on everything I do. So March 3rd is supposed to be March 2nd. And that was fabulous to see all those people come out on Saturday. It was wonderful. So,
Nancy, can I ask a question?
yeah.
So last Wednesdays I was able to go to, and I've attended the Zoom and, but last Wednesdays was predominantly those of us in the 60+ age group. How about Saturday?
I want to say Saturday was on the 60 and over.
I just wondered if we're getting a representation of the community.
Hmm,
Okay.
yeah.
Can I ask a question related?
Yeah.
Are there more
Sure.
of these planned? It's like, there might be one at the library, might get more community and things discussed.
There are not, and, I take that back. Yes, there are, but they're gonna be different topics.
Okay.
So, actually, well, hold that thought, and when we get to the last one, I'll share it with you. So, things we need to do. We have collected so much feedback from all of these groups, and it has been collected, some of it's been typed up, some of it hasn't, but it really all needs to be summarized and categorized and identified with what people are suggesting and what people want. And what you see in front of you is the feedback that was taken on February 8th. And it was the COA and the recap group. So this was someone was taking notes, I don't know who, and then Rachel typed it up. And you can see that there were a lot of questions and a lot of comments. And I don't think we want to go through these, although maybe what we want to do is highlight just some of them, because from my watching these meetings, there's new questions and answers, but there's a lot of redundancy. The Pleasant Street option 1, which was the parking garage and the gymnasium on the second floor, was the most popular. Remember, we took the straw polls, so the people in attendance really gravitated towards that plan. The senior center portion of the building was not easily cordoned off, but it's really important. Like, I'm not certain who made that comment, doesn't really matter, but the Pleasant Street Center is being proposed just as a senior center. It's not being proposed as a community center, so we don't have to cordon off anything.
Nancy, another question. For sure that is, I
Yes.
thought, well, they were talking about the gym possibly that on the second floor.
Not to say that the gym couldn't be used.
Okay, that's what
By
my
an
misunderstanding.
outside
Okay.
group. But it would be primarily a senior center. That's the plan for Pleasant Street, because we don't have as much, there's not as much room here. So it was mentioned that, I think in one of the plans, it was using the existing great room. And someone said, well, that's going to require addressing the shortcomings, the space, the acoustics and everything. You know about that. Program rooms should be grouped together with portable partitions to create flexibility. And that has been mentioned at a number of these meetings. You should be able to break the rooms down. That office space was constrained and needs to be more spacious. I think 100 square foot offices, it's like a 10 by 10 room, were proposed. I believe on this one with the 2-story parking garage and gymnasium, the entrance was on the first floor and people had to take the elevator up to the second floor in order to get to all the program room. And it was mentioned that you might need another receptionist, but I don't know, maybe that person was also thinking that this was going to be a community center. So then we have Lexington was talked about. We also, I think as a good example of how a senior center is set up, I'm putting words into the notes here. We need more waiting space for companions.
Lexington's actually a community center. It's a
Oh,
it's a
okay.
senior center within a community center.
Oh, okay.
I think it's 36,000 square feet. It's
Oh,
big.
okay. See, it's really kind of good to go over these because some of these in retrospect really don't apply.
But I think they do have a separate receptionist for the senior center.
Is it?
I think, I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Need more waiting space, and we know that to be true for companions. And anybody getting ready to go to an event needs a place to meet. Now patrons come early to find parking and they need a space to wait. And what can be done with flat roofs, recreation space? We need to understand how other centers have grown following their expansions, because we need room for growth, and that's been mentioned at all of the sessions. Pleasant Street site is preferred in part because of the familiarity. It is also centrally located. How much development will the Historic Commission allow on the site? I believe the H&A even met this week or last week with them, so we should be getting a report soon. Option 2, there really wasn't a lot of notes on that. That was with no gym in the multi-purpose room on the second floor. And, but that also had the kitchen on the second floor. And there was a lot of discussion that kitchen on the second floor was not very good.
And deliveries are an issue. I think deliveries were an issue because everything would have to go up an elevator.
Oh, that makes sense.
It just was awkward.
Yeah. Oakland Road, it was mentioned that it feels small. We prefer to have more program rooms on the senior center level. How can we connect to the water tower and the park nearby? Will teens use this location? How will programming work with high school hours and traffic? Oakland Road concept would feel like the Randolph Intergenerational Center, where there isn't specific dedicated space and different groups use it at all different times of the day. Although this was specifically laid out, that was specifically laid out with dedicated senior space. Oakland Road concept would lend itself to phasing. Move the pickleball courts to the lower level. What is the difference between dedicated and prioritized senior space? So, these kind of questions were coming up. How does the building design convey a feeling of ownership for seniors? And that's been talked about at almost all of these. Randolph requires a lot of block storage to fund. And then if you remember correctly, I think it
What
was
does that mean? What?
storage.
Oh, to fund.
No,
No.
function. I guess
Function.
that's supposed to be
Block
function.
storage.
It's a function.
I copied and pasted this, so I might not have gotten that. And then if you remember correctly, it got to be maybe about 9 o'clock at night. And we were finally getting to Simon's Way and people were like, oh, their eyes were, glazing over. And we didn't really talk too much specifically about Simon's Way. But for each one of the sessions that we've had, we have a series of these questions and information and answers. So those are all going to be compiled and we'll be able to look at them. Oh, and I think these are out of order, which is my fault. Maybe they're out of order. So, no, they aren't out of order, sorry. So really, the next thing that's gonna be done, and this is really gonna be in March, is we're gonna be developing criteria by which the 3 sites will be evaluated. So for those of you that have kids in school or work in project land, the Rubik concept where you've got a list of criteria And, what you have in front of you here is something that Marilyn whipped up for us. And basically, it would be a list of items on the left-hand side by which it would be decided that that would be the criteria by which to evaluate Pleasant Street, Oakland Road, and Simons Way.
Rubric.
Oh, what did I
We
call
knew.
it?
You've got rubric. You're back to the cube.
All right. So,
Are we putting these in order? Are we putting these in order or just,
no.
we don't, are we
well,
discussing
We
these
haven't
tonight?
figured any of that out yet.
Let
Okay.
me- Yeah,
This is
this is
to
just a
refer to.
complete brainstorm.
Okay.
And the thought is that we kind of look at the list as written, say, yeah, that's good, that's bad, that's, I would add this, or this is missing. If you look at the next slide, this is really the evaluation criteria for the building. This would be the evaluation criteria for site selection. And it has more things like environmental impact and central location. This was a list that was developed by BH+A. So, we'll take a look at that. But it's ours to review and update and edit and add however we like. And then there are two, they're just handouts. I don't know, you might have 2 or 3 there, the way that I copied them.
It looks like you took the categories.
Oh, I
from
took the
selection and
site
put it
and
small.
put it in the blue template.
Right,
So,
and the other one is just something
Yeah.
that's readable as opposed to the other one's too.
right. And then the other 2 are ones that we can work with here. You'll also notice there's one final, and I don't know if I put it on with my files. Although I think the people at home, no, I didn't. I think the people at home do have this. So this is the latest schedule. It's been updated. And if I can summarize it for people, because BH+A has their own language on what they use charrettes, they use programs to name rooms. And so we're in March, and what we'll be doing in March is this site plan review. And they are also going to be doing some cost estimating in March, as well as maybe some other things that need to be done before we can fully evaluate, like toxic material or parking. Yeah, so they're gonna be doing that. This is going to involve, let's see, the presentation project team recap. And then it says community, but I think what's supposed to be in here too is key stakeholders. And that's us in recalc, much like we did, so first out of the box, recalc and COA will see what is finally put forward.
So is that another meeting that's not on here?
It
Or we
probably
just don't know
is.
yet? Okay,
Yeah.
TBD.
Yeah, this is updated all the time.
Yeah.
So when you look at this 2 days from now, it's not going to look like this one, it will probably look like something else. Because
Who's updating all of this?
BH&A is
So you're saying that
updating it, and Jenna is the lead person from the town. And then there's that work group that meets with Jenna on a weekly basis. And one of the reasons why this was updated was because we all asked the questions. In reality, what is it that we're doing? This is all kind of project words, but what are we doing? And it became very clear that we had to move a little bit faster than was originally proposed. So what happened was things got pushed up. And so March is dedicated to to really these site criteria. Who's going to make the decision on the site criteria? And who is ultimately going to make the decision on, what site is selected? That is probably going to be a combined group. It's unclear. It's a discussion right now, whether originally the thought was that it might be, ReCalc making the decision. And I said, oh, that's great. Well, COA will make a decision too. And that caused all kinds of heads to explode. And so there's going to be a collaborative approach to selecting the site.
So not just select board. It's not gonna-
No, well, that's what Mark says. I think Mark's idea is that the select board are close enough to the facts and the figures and the plans and to really make the final decision. So they are looking for guidance from all of us as part of this, key stakeholder group. But we will reach out to the community again. So there'll be another community meeting, people will be invited, and we'll get feedback from them on that. Then in April, actually April here, I think a lot of this actually has been moved up to March, because we have to move really fast because they are looking to be able to present to the select board in June. Whoever they is, are looking to present to the select board in June what the final recommendation is. Then what will happen in the fall, it will go to town meeting for a vote. And then it will go probably most likely in the spring at the next election, it will go in front of the voters. So that's kind of the timeline. And I have to say, all that's not reflected in here. So I hesitated giving this out.
Draft,
Yeah,
letters.
so, and it moves, it's constantly moving, depending on,
Just a question about the sites. I know we're thinking of 3 options, but if, for example, we chose Pleasant Street Center and it's only a senior center, is there also an option that's within the scope of all this to consider putting a rec center, say, at Simon's Way? Is there an avenue to even raise that as an option?
I'm glad you brought that up, Marilyn,
Okay.
because my thought, and I've been thinking about this, why can't they, if it is just a Pleasant Street Center, could Simon's Way be the green space with pickleball and a walking trail, which we don't have in town right now? And then the other option would be maybe you have 1, 2, and 3, Oakland being the quote community center, recs, recreational offices, etc. But I think something needs to be proposed that these options should be considered. I'm thinking the dollar amount. Do you do gradual? I mean, this started out for me, my thought is this started out as a senior center and then now it's just growing all over the place. And as far as the senior center, we have 4,000 square feet here now, right, Chris?
Right.
Approximate. I don't think they're gonna be gaining that much on Oakland or Simon's Way.
one of the things that needs to be done, and it's actually another to do, is we need to have a chart that clearly identifies the rooms that are being proposed, the current names of those rooms here, so those of us that are here would know what rooms were being talked about, with the square footage of each one of those rooms, and also what that would be for Simon's Way and Oakland Road. But Rachel has said, and I have not checked it, I keep needing to, but I don't know, something else comes up, like counting ballots for the town election, that the space for the Simon's Way and the Oakland Road, if you compare those, they're similar, if not exactly the same. But I have yet to put pen to paper to really see that. That the Pleasant Street is a tad smaller. And that goes back to what you just raised, Jean, you know, how much is a tad smaller? So that's also another one, along with the feedback from all the groups. We need to really do a deep dive down into the square footage.
And
Okay.
I'm sorry.
But back to my first question, just process, is there a process to make it possible for BH&A to be considering a senior center and a rec center?
You know what we can do
Mm-hmm.
on our criteria? Let's put that in.
I think
You know, is that a possibility? You know, what would be, maybe Oakland Road would be good if it was a phased-in approach.
I'm not asking a phased in, I'm saying if we decided we wanted, for example, the
No.
Pleasant Street Center, so we can't get this committee to consider a senior center and a rec center as two
No,
separate
it's
things?
only,
Is there any good reason why?
Money. Yeah.
Maybe.
So, but you want the voters, you gotta think about what, they're gonna come to the ballot. And, and selfishly, you need to think about us. Sorry.
I'm just
But you need
suggesting
to
that if
think about us.
I'm
and-
suggesting that it's possible that perhaps, I don't know, because we haven't seen any cost data, a smaller building and a smaller building as opposed to a bigger building, but two
Yeah.
smaller buildings that meet the need. And it could be packaged to the voters as we're proposing a campus
It-
effect.
it could be packaged, and that's,
Right.
and that's what this site criteria is going to do.
and then
We
also,
need to figure out, who knows? It might be that, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. No.
I'm
there
just
is-
talking process. If we wanted to do it, is there a way to get the committee to think about it? That's all. I'm not asking for the answer. I just wonder how we
Yeah.
evaluate it. Saying, is there a way to get them to consider it?
well,
I'll
I
ask-
also what she's saying, then also, we don't know costs, maybe again, that's something that could be
Yeah.
considered on a structural stage level. I mean, they're presenting plans, but they haven't really given a cost-effective
No,
proposal.
you know.
It could cost thousands, millions to dynamite or clean up Simon's Way.
No.
That's gotta be,
So reacting, you know, to that, yes, it's possible.
Okay.
What I want people here to do is think about the political aspect of this. Would it be two separate items on the ballot? Would it be a combined item on the ballot? If it's a combined item, then you got Oakland Road and Simon's Way. So
I
let's-
understand, you're
let's-
saying they're at the feasibility study stage, which is not the political question. It's just, is it feasible? I mean, it seems to me like it's something you could easily look at. I mean, I don't want people to have to feel, if they choose a senior center, that we have to neglect rec.
What about the Simon's committee?
So,
what are they all?
so we are meeting, can I give a Simon's Way update?
Yeah,
That's next
no,
week.
not right now.
Next week.
I wanna move on to the next part of
Okay.
this discussion.
All right.
And there is politics in all of this, and we need to be real about that. We need to think about it and what could help us, could hurt us. could be beneficial to us, and we need to think about that. I mean, those are good suggestions, and we can explore those. So, what I would like to do right now is take one of the rubric cubes, rubric, yeah, I did spell it wrong. Didn't I?
Yeah.
I know, because it should be rubric. Rubric. It's Nancy Zimlack spelling 101. How about, what do you think's easier for one to take?
Can I just
And
ask, what do you want from us tonight?
what I want is, if we are evaluating these 3 sites, by what criteria do you want to evaluate those sites? For example, when Nancy T was on the committee to elect the the selections for the town manager, they had a rubric cube, and they had to identify.
Yes.
The criteria was identified. So what we are doing right now is we are out in front of the process, and we are able to suggest what criteria we would like to see for both the building and the site. Does that make sense?
So would we do this just in general, like?
Yes.
So are we filling this out?
No.
We're just seeing if we agree with this criteria and if we want to add additional issues.
Yeah.
Okay,
Or
I edit, we're editing it. Okay,
Yeah.
I just needed to be clear.
Nancy, which one are you on?
Well, I'm asking, which one do we want to be on? Do we
What's-
want to tackle the site first or the building?
The
First.
shorter one,
Okay,
Is
sure.
that this one?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know if it's shorter. I don't know if it's shorter.
I want to give everybody a few minutes just to read this. Make some notes. And I'll just say one more thing. We don't necessarily know all the answers to these things now, but we will when it comes time to make the decision. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can add, we can edit, we can,
This is up for discussion.
this is our brainstorming session. Does everybody feel comfortable?
So, this might be kind of common sense, but I want to see that the new site offer continuity of programming with the existing Pleasant Street Center, meaning we're making sure that we have enough. Chris knows what programs are running, when they're running, what the attendance looks like, we know what people are currently participating, and we want to make sure that there's no interruption and that we have the space necessary to maintain existing program with a percentage of growth. So, and it kind of sounds like common sense, but I think it's something that we need to define. Do we have in whatever space does that accommodate? That
So once,
Yeah.
assuming we've done the other one and we figure out what the building needs to accommodate, we need to make sure it's a site that can handle everything that we've said we have to have in the building.
Yeah, so that would be on the building, is what you're saying.
So it's sort of a line on here is the building.
Oh, wrong one, sorry.
Oh, I switched. Yeah, we're doing the site one first.
Okay,
I'll save my comments.
but a site, but a site,
There you go. It's a good comment.
but a site requirement is that the building room would be satisfied.
Yeah.
Cause
What do you mean by timing of availability?
These were all things that were taken from BH&A. So if it's unclear, let's make it more clear. I don't know what it is.
Okay, all right, so yeah,
So when could it be up and running? Ready, yeah.
yeah, is that what it means?
Or does
I
it
don't-
mean that you
I think-
couldn't do certain things on open roads and that?
It could be.
Oh, when it's-
It also could be timing.
But we're unclear,
Totally
so we do have a
different.
question about that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
let's say if we want, what do we think timing of availability should be for the site? I liked what someone said about how soon can it be ready?
Yeah, right,
That's
that's,
And then,
yeah.
and then they also mentioned if it was here, where the seniors go.
Mm-hmm. That might, that's a huge issue.
Right.
Because, you know,
Alternate.
But-
can't be paying rent somewhere.
But no, but on another note, if it was here, trying to do some figuring, might be less money to rent a location if the site was here versus dynamiting and worrying
But you
about.
know what we're not doing right now? We're
We're
not evaluating that.
Okay.
Not dynamite.
Okay.
We're not evaluating.
Okay.
All we're doing.
I'm just
is-
doing content,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's do timing of availability, someone reword that.
For occupancy?
Mhm.
For occupancy.
Move in ready,
Or
Yeah.
maybe it's just how long to move in ready,
How what?
how long until move in ready, or time until move in ready. It's just defining availability, it's not that the land's available, it's when could it be available for use.
Do we want
Available
to,
for use.
yeah, I just add on for use.
do we want to do all of these, or do we want to choose like the top 5 things that are important? And rank those in importance, because one site might have a bunch of things that aren't as important, but the other one has the top 3 things, you know?
I think what, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what we wanna do right now is not even look at this other side of the paper. So we're not looking at the sites right now.
Oh,
We're
so,
simply looking at
so
the
we are,
criteria,
okay.
Okay.
okay?
And can I just ask, when do you see we would be looking at this?
It's gonna happen during March and through April,
Okay,
mid-April, like mid-March to mid-April.
so it won't necessarily just be a COA meeting, it'll be a community meeting. Okay, so we
Yes.
will never deliberate as a COA.
Hmm?
We'll never deliberate as a COA what our priorities
Well,
are.
remember what I said a few minutes ago? It has been brought up at a work group meeting. How is that actual decision going to be made? And, there was a suggestion, and then there was another suggestion, and then someone made a comment, oh, we gotta get these together to figure out how we're gonna make that decision. So the answer to your question, Karen, is at this point, it's undecided. Could it be COA? Could it be, I don't know, COA
So
voting?
someone else is making that decision
We
about our
do.
involvement.
No,
No.
that's not what I'm saying.
Oh.
You, someone else say it, I'm not being clear.
Couple of things, I've heard a lot of different things. One is what Rachel showed, when she showed the version of this that had, hypothetical names on it in her last presentation, which I don't know if you had a chance to go to that one, and it's not online yet, but when you have it.
Online tomorrow.
Okay, we never, it's well worth watching that presentation because there's new information in it. But she showed 2, and actually it's in one of Nancy's
Yeah.
slides. One's weighted and the other's not. The way they handled that might have value, but it might not be as important, is that they weight them, so they can see it weighted and unweighted. So that's how they handle that. In terms,
Rated or weighted?
weighted.
Oh,
Weighted.
which is more important.
They can say these 3 things count 10 times more than those 20 things. And they just multiply it by a multiplier, so there's more points. And they add up the points, and whoever, actually, the way they did it struck me as odd, but they took the low one as the winner, they're playing golf.
Yeah,
Right, we're not doing it, but that answers that
Two
question.
ways to do it.
Right, that answers that question. In terms of the COA, I think absolutely we need to give feedback to the work group on what the COA thinks these things are.
I think it's gonna go beyond that. And COA will be part of the decision-making process Will it be every single person sitting in this room? Maybe not. Could be, I don't know. But COA will definitely be part of the decision-making process. And everything is collaboration, cooperation, compromise. So Mark Doxer's famous line, we are not gonna get everything we want. We are not gonna get, but our voice is very important. So I don't know if, I can't stress that enough.
I think a key thing will be to get the work group to buy into what we're proposing with this.
Well, and it's not just COA.
I
So
understand.
recalc will, take a look at the criteria.
Yeah.
The recalc members, the community will take a look at the criteria and come in on that. So what we come up with tonight, if we are able to do it tonight, is not necessarily the finished product. It is going to be a mix of all of those groups coming together. Will we like all of the criteria? No. Will we like a lot of the criteria? Yes. So, but we definitely have a voice. Each person in this room has a voice. And I guess the critical thing that I would like to encourage everybody to think about is that because we are at a point where we do have a voice, that we need to work together with the other groups that also have a voice in this, so that the ultimate recommendation is one recommendation. We can't go to the voters with 2, 3, 4 different recommendations. It's gotta be one recommendation. So what about, timing of availability for occupancy, for use?
By senior center dedicated.
This is just cross out community center. We're only talking about senior center here. We don't really care about the community center. I do. Well, we have senior here. Well, okay. Okay, but our first priority is the senior center. That is our first priority as the council on aging.
Because basically, our purpose is advocates for seniors.
Right.
But could I read a short sentence that I went back to the recalc page? Because it's not just the Council on Aging. On the recalc webpage, their recommendations, number 4 is the desire for an all ages, this is recalc, not us. The desire for an all ages community center with dedicated senior space is real. However, it should not take precedence over first meeting the program, service, and facility needs of Reading seniors. So it is, if they pay attention to their own recommendations, it's a mutual goal.
I read that at one of the sessions.
Yeah, and I think it's getting short shift so far.
Well,
But I
It's
think
just
that's
a
why,
matter
I
of
think,
everybody, when you're talking to someone,
right.
refer back to that.
Well, I
Say-
think this will help emphasize
Yeah.
that, but I think it's important that
Yeah.
if we understood this as COA's recommendation once we
Yeah.
get there.
So someone pick another one. Well, we did timing of availability. I mean, I think traffic is valid, a valid one. We want that.
Like how much traffic is gonna create? Is that, I don't understand. Or there could
Okay,
be current
let's-
traffic.
Let's.
Traffic of people or traffic of cars?
Traffic of cars.
Well, it could be.
Cars.
It's like at the high school, it could be kids, it could be people.
Yeah, it's cars.
So like accessibility in and out of the parking lot. Really. So we're talking about.
Well, see,
How about
this is-
traffic safety? I mean, it doesn't really matter how much there is. The question is it safe?
Well, that's the other thing with senior
Traffic
driving.
impact? Did
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
hear what
Impact.
Karen said?
Yeah.
How about traffic safety and impact?
That sounds good.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's good.
Nancy, could we jump up did we discuss transportation?
No, you wanna make that the next one?
Yes.
It's, all it is one word here, transportation. I have no idea what it means.
Well, is it transportation for the, a service to get the seniors, if it's at Oakland or Simon's Way? What does that mean?
Service that we have going now, so transportation accessible, which they have to come a day or two ahead of time to make sure.
Well, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how some of the seniors who walk to the center now, where this is more central, how are they gonna get to Oakland or
It
Simon's
was
Way?
pretty noble to
Yeah,
walk here.
it was interesting. There was a hand raising thing.
There's three people who walk.
Everybody raised their hand, but they drive. And
Yeah, but we're living that in the future though.
See, that's the thing, is a lot of,
I thought they were talking about buses.
Well, wait a minute,
That's
so
what I thought.
now we're evaluating, so think about, how do you wanna reword this?
So I think with that, though, that would be under central location as far as like transportation walking there. So I think the definition of central location would be ability to walk to downtown area.
location. I know.
For me, I could walk to Simon's Way. I'm not walking here from my house.
So
I
Nancy,
think
they didn't
everybody's
provide you with a
interpretation.
definition
No,
for these
No,
categories.
no, this is just a blank
Brainstorm.
brainstorm. We're
Why
brainstorming.
with the central, they kept saying the positive was that it was in town.
No,
Okay.
it wasn't. One woman stood up and said she didn't care.
Right, that's what I'm saying, but I think people think it's a positive.
Well, here's my question,
Right.
let's think
How many
about
people
this.
actually?
Central location in town, do
Center.
we wanna add that?
yes, because someone was saying if they had a caregiver that dropped someone off, they were able to do
Shopping.
errands for that person here in town, or even the seniors that come to the center, say for a program, they have accessibility to walk within lunch, baking, even,
Maybe it should be convenient location versus central location.
thank you, thank you. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, because that's. they think
Encompasses it all.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because you're right, central to you is not central to somebody who lives
Yeah.
on the Wilmington line, like I live closer to Wilmington,
Yeah.
so. Not necessarily central.
If you do the hand raising on all those companions and stuff, how many errands they actually run right in the square, I bet you wouldn't see very many hands go up either.
Right, that was brought up, someone brought that up
Yeah.
on Saturday.
So how about transportation, we say, something about transportation, something about accessibility, so if, say it's out and at a place where, you know, you aren't gonna drive, or you aren't gonna walk, and you don't have a car, but you wanna take advantage of the services, how are you gonna get there?
Reliable,
Like they do
reliable
every-
transportation.
To get to the casino, they have a loop.
Right.
That- So you, I mean, that could be a proposal that you have 10 o'clock, the bus stops here, and then 10:10 it's here.
But again, they have to take in consideration, that's a cost effective, hiring somebody, having.
You can't evaluate, we're not
Okay,
evaluating,
alright.
we're just
Okay,
putting it out.
That's my.
Sorry if I'm being a pill about that.
We
Transportation.
need to have transportation to accommodate the increased number of people participating in programs, so, because that's gonna change.
Right, the volume should go.
Yeah, but why? I guess if I were evaluating that. I don't even know why transportation would be in there for site review, actually.
It could,
Well,
if
it's for disability, probably.
it were a town that had public transportation, for example, this would make sense to make it near public
Well, how do you get there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they, yeah.
this doesn't make sense to me in terms of, I'm just throwing out my opinion here.
Right, for
I mean,
the site.
we're
At
not,
one time, wasn't spoken at meetings way back to mention that there could be transportation?
Mhm.
We
Wasn't it
have
mentioned then?
transportation. We have transportation.
No, not transportation just for the seniors going to medical, etc. But I believe it was transportation to the center.
We have transportation to the center. Right now, we have 2 vans, people reserve a spot. I mean, we can't go from door to door for every person in
No,
town.
I'm not saying that.
So there was.
Dedicated
Dedicated.
transportation
there was-
just to the center.
We have dedicated.
So we do- So we do have dedicated transportation to the center. People just have to call and let us know. I think at one point, Jean, so Rosemary is correct, but also Jean is correct because there was talk at one point talking about, depending on where it is and larger and with the increase in population, can we keep up with the transportation needs? Can that be a shuttle going around
Right,
town
right,
that regularly on a regular basis? And transportation at one point was also discussed among all three centers about, what is transportation's cost going to be if it's way out on Simon's Way? Because we're gonna have to put the buses are gonna be moving more. So there's gonna be an increased cost. It's gonna be a little bit less so at Oakland Road, and we already kind of know what it is right here.
So, do we want to be, it's not just general transportation, it's transportation to the center.
Well, to the center, and
And,
also you have to consider transportation.
and home.
Home, and not that it really matters a whole lot, but we have to consider transportation to, let's say, shopping.
Exactly.
Shopping and where,
Yeah, but
but
this,
that's a little bit less of a concern.
and that's more, in my mind, more program. This is, we're talking about the site. That's why we're talking about the site here, and I'm not certain about transportation.
Maybe the big
That's-
issue is there a transportation advantage in one spot versus the other?
But that's what, since it's the site, they're talking about getting people to the, the two ladies that live down in Reading Woods, they come every Monday for bingo. Right now we know, we go from here to there. Well, what's the cost difference when if it's somewhere else a little bit further?
So then you could end up with 20 on a Monday.
But honestly, it's not really the same thing. The only other thing.
And question
Well,
mark.
you don't wanna forget it though, because it's
No,
critical.
let's put a question mark there and move on to another one, or we're gonna be here all night.
And Rachel may be able to help with some of these things. This is Rachel's list.
What about shared parking? Sufficient parking.
Sufficient parking, check.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, shared parking
What
opportunities.
does that mean? Oh, that was the high
That was the
school.
old one.
High school, Oakland Road.
If
no
we get
parking.
huge, if we have a huge ball, we have to have more people come than we usually do.
I mean, that might be a
Not
check
here, yeah, but
No,
somewhere else.
I mean, it
Yeah.
would,
Well, it depends on what time of day.
That's right.
Because the high school showed.
Oh, you can't even find a parking space up there. Unless the Oakland Road is filled with cars going around the bend
Yeah.
every day.
well,
And that's
anyway,
not the parking lot.
we don't have any official parking studies, we have anecdotal information right now. Whenever I go up there, that front lot is always empty.
Are you kidding?
In
What time of day?
morning, noon, and night.
Oh, listen, the other day I rode around 3 times.
Anyway,
Would
Not
not
evaluated.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think sufficient parking is,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
How often will you need that?
Well, and maybe if it's a ranked choicing, it would get a lower percentage.
I think shared parking only comes up if the answer is sufficient parking is sometimes. And then knowing that there were shared opportunities would perhaps salvage that site.
Right, they sort of go hand in hand.
How about sufficient parking and or shared
There you
parking
go.
opportunity? So they should be combined. Site construction costs. Yeah, I mean, that's a check mark, right? Share, tree clearing.
I don't think
Oakland,
that,
I think it's Oakland.
I think no matter where you go, we're gonna have to do something.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't-
Well, that might be
Well,
wild.
they're thinking,
In one decision or another,
Yeah.
like, if they have to take down 10 trees at Oakland Road or Simon's Way, it's not gonna, that's right.
If everything else,
It's
right,
not,
if everything else is the package,
right, it's not.
we'll
that-
sacrifice 10 trees to get the center.
Exactly.
Well, isn't it typically called site prep?
Yeah,
Yes,
Might
site
be.
prep.
But if you think of what's happening with the vocational school right now, it's trees.
yes,
And that's what everybody's fighting
right,
on the vocational
Yes,
school bill.
agree.
They're taking down 1 billion trees.
So none of our sites are gonna be.
1 billion trees.
trees.
Let's take it off.
Oakland Road is in that, see, a lot of people are gonna start saying, it's a sound barrier.
It's a sound barrier, it's a
Yeah.
privacy barrier.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
I
we should add impact on.
Well, there's
butters.
habitat, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
There's
love,
one.
love the impact on.
Yeah.
Butters. That is.
Yes.
Oh.
important.
Where was it? Is that?
It's
on-
No.
That's
Yeah.
a good one.
It's not.
Put on bot- please.
And take out tree clearing?
Yeah.
No,
And habitat preservation.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
That's a good one, Habitat, yeah.
Keep that one.
Wouldn't wanna dislodge
we
one of
can-
those geese.
What's that?
Wouldn't wanna dislodge those geese.
With the little salamanders. I think,
Well, you know what, down on Cloverland Street, the water department was gonna do something down there. And that whole project got canceled because of some type of little.
yeah,
So, I mean,
So I mean, I think they would figure that out on the site, whether we could build there or not.
no, not necessarily. I mean, it,
Beforehand, you know, like,
it could impact the way that, I mean, that there's a little bit of an issue with the house, the building that's going down on Main Street, so. Main Street.
If it's wetland, they have.
right, well,
Is there any part of
Conservation.
Simon's Way that's actually wetland?
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they have to fill out all kinds of forms about the
Well, that's why
impact
it
on the
limits,
on the
it
wildlife.
limits the buildable option.
It did, but there's also.
Is Simon's Way, does it have official wetland? Okay. Then why is everyone laughing at me when I ask about Castine Field and saying, but that's wetland?
And I agree with that.
Yeah, all right, separate discussion.
Yes.
Yeah,
How
well,
about,
the latest word was we aren't interested, meaning Mark is not
how
interested.
about connection to so we're keeping habitat close to community resources?
I think we said that with.
Fire.
I think that goes, yeah, to the
Convenient location.
convenient, at the top, the first one that Jackie said.
Because someone else might say, well, Oakland Road would be great, they've got all those new gazebos down there and.
No, I think it meant
paths
that
and-
like to fire and police.
Well, I don't know.
You
That's-
know, they did bring that up.
On
Someone
Saturday,
Saturday did bring that up,
Did it?
especially with the senior center,
Well-
emergency access
Services. yeah.
services.
Oh, would we add emergency
Yeah.
access?
I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because one person's community resources is not the
Could be a
same as
gazebo.
another person's community resources. So, I don't know, question mark there right now? Renewable resources, I'm not sure
What
what
does
that
that mean?
means.
What does that mean?
Probably
Oh.
is,
The green.
it came from the H&M.
Renewable energy, can they do solar panels?
Right,
Can
maybe
you
ask
do-
about
Oh, green. is it
Yeah,
green?
green.
Yeah, you always ask
I say
about
that,
that.
Solar.
Oh, solar.
All right, so let's.
And an electric stove, electric stove,
Electric.
come in and cancel the gas stove.
I know, I like that. Anyway, so we're saving renewable resources. Connection to nature, I thought that was an
Yeah.
interesting one.
Tree
Well,
hugger.
that would probably be like the walking trails and,
Yes, yeah.
you know, the
Yeah.
ability to sit outside
Yeah.
and enjoy nature.
Someone
Yeah.
someone had said,
Yeah.
yeah, someone had said at the Simon's Way, you could turn the lounge over to the other side of the building, put a big window in, and it would look right out on the wetlands, you know, to the birds and the ducks and all that. So, I don't know, maybe that.
I think that's nice, I don't think it's needed.
I don't
We
think.
could paint like a big.
I agree.
It's not- I don't want it to be criteria.
Site perfect, but we
Every couple
design
years,
the
we
site
get to
around
repaint a
it.
new.
That's right.
One year we can make a green wall.
It's like the best thing I've heard in a long time. I'm sorry, that's okay.
Couple of different things to come down.
So do we take off mentions in nature?
I would,
How about contamination possibility?
Yeah, that's a concern.
And how about blasting?
oh yeah, the ledge, I would like to know
think that
before they
both
start
could be
dynamiting.
combined. What's the?
Yeah,
Site
site
perfect,
perfect.
right? So we'll take blasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do like, Karen said, a site prep and then bullet, boom.
Yeah.
boom, boom, under.
Yeah, but when you do and correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't done it in some time, but when you're doing the criteria, you're taking each one in.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You don't
Yeah.
have things under it.
I think Karen mentioned it before too, Karen J, about the site prep costs. So maybe that could be a good site prep cost and then bullet underneath those.
Should we be adding to this, wetland remediate, I mean, the rules on wetland, if you're going to, I read a lot about it, because I wanted to understand Castine Field. But if you want to drain it, you have to create an adjoining site that I think has at least 2, if not 3 times better water drainage.
A retention, you have to do a retention pond or something.
Yeah, and if you're going to disturb the wildlife and the plants, same story, you've got to create something next to it, so should we be putting on here?
Environmental impact.
Yeah, should we?
That's a good one.
Should we put it,
environmental
well,
impact.
it's a whole approval process.
Yeah.
There's forms, there's laws, and they can say no, so.
It's conservation. I think,
Do we have-
Nancy,
do we have the
by
need to
putting
con-
down environmental impact, that also could cover Simon's Way where it's ledge for drainage purposes.
But the wetland thing is more than just, are we worrying about the impact, it's, do we have to go through a state process to get the wetland alteration approved? Because that could add to time and everything else, and it also could be a year from now, they say, no.
Yeah. And someone, we could add environmental impact, and someone would say, well, that includes contamination, blasting,
Yeah.
wetland. But,
I
you
think
know,
wetland approval is a whole separate state
Well,
process,
versus-
and it
yeah,
should
I
go
agree.
on here.
And I don't, can we change the word possibility to contamination issues and
Yes.
lasting
Yeah.
issues?
Yeah.
Or something other than possibility.
Blasting possibility, maybe should be blasting required, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we
Oh.
all know it has to be blasted over open road.
no,
No,
the way they've cited it, it doesn't. But does it mean that there might not be some blasting required, because once they start digging.
Exactly, they don't know what's under there.
You know,
That ledge could be under the
and
soil.
same with the soil contamination, where it is currently cited, it is not part of the soil.
Exactly.
Contaminated soil area, but could it dig down a little bit? Yeah. So what about this one, expansion opportunities? I have no, I know what
think
that
they
means,
grow.
like if you go here, no
That's it, right.
expansion.
Correct.
Also, sorry, also keep in mind, I know we're talking about Simon's Way, but in the plans to get the first level of the parking deck, they have to dig down to the basement level, so it's taking probably, I don't know how many feet of dirt out, but just remember, the parking lot is not level with the basement currently. So there is a,
So that's the
There's-
site prep.
so just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You talk about right here, Pleasant Street?
Yeah.
Expansion opportunities.
I think that's.
Well,
But I think
yeah,
if you go
that's
through
okay.
and you wanna add on, like we're doing to Pleasant Street now,
Can you go up?
there's no expansion here.
Well, yeah, you could go.
But they could prep the foundation
Correct.
Yes.
and say, okay, we're putting one level garage now. Well, maybe in 5 years, we need additional space. That garage will hold another floor.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I keep that.
So maybe future expansion
Yeah.
opportunities, we're not looking for it right now, but what does each one offer you? As we keep saying, the number of people is gonna,
Right.
seniors is gonna increase.
What about anything else? We added impact on abutters, we added emergency access, environmental impact. We reworded some things.
The wetland approval again.
Oh,
Would that go under wetlands also be the same as toxic?
No,
No,
So
that would be the contamination.
that's the contamination.
what else do you think about in terms of, site plan review? Well, you know what? I will type this up and send it to everybody, so, take this home and think about it, and if we think of anything more, we can always add to it. Let's look at the, building. Now, these are things all, that have come from, I'm gonna give Marilyn
I was
credit.
gonna say, this is Marilyn's brain.
This is your list?
This is just, I've got 20 minutes because I really want to make it circle and I failed, but I just did a brain dump of
Yeah.
kinds of things that it come to my mind in terms of what I want to see.
So
Yeah,
that's
it
why
is.
it's clearer too.
Thank you.
Yeah, no one word.
Yeah, but I'm not wedded strongly to wording or to this list particularly. It was just brain dump of the kinds of things I think we should be thinking about.
Want to take them one by one?
Sure.
Dedicated senior program, room square footage greater than current.
The current is what, yeah.
Do we know what the current number is?
Yes, Chris knows.
Do you know the current
60,
number
70?
of our program space? And by that I mean, not like the, well, maybe the
In the
kitchen.
main room, what is
Hold on,
how
let
big
me-
is it?
Yeah, wherever you run programs.
I think I might have, you gotta give me a second to.
I thought it was 70 for 60 or 70 for fire safety or something.
It was, I know at one point early on, I went around here with tape measure. Do you think I could find that?
No.
But I want to say it was like 5,600. But,
Total program space
yeah,
But it's
here,
yeah.
oh, I think it's, right around, don't hold me to this, I think it's right around 46, 47.
47.
So we might want to take it, because I've asked Rachel a number of times, and you know what she's using? She's using the really old site plans for spaces that now have been divided. And so when she talks about the Joe's office and the computer lab, she doesn't divide that out. And the hallway, she puts that all together. So I don't know, we may wanna, I'm personally, and this is not part of this, but I think we should measure,
I'll help
you
you.
know?
We need those numbers. It just
Yeah.
keeps coming. And we mean literally the program space, like,
Yeah.
you know, this
As
is not
opposed to
the
the
hallway
office.
out there,
As
not
opposed to
Chris's office
Well,
/ hallway, just
But we need
the program.
office space.
that way, that's a separate measure.
Yeah,
But
we
for this one on the
definitely-
program
And we need it
space.
for each room.
Yeah.
And then we need to identify the name next to.
Yes.
Is it medium room?
I will help you. We can take the tape measure and just
A
do it.
little
But
boutique.
that's a good, that's a good sheet.
Marilyn?
Yeah.
You take a tape measure, you take the tape measure. Today in this room,
Yeah.
and many days in the past, the class that's held in this room spills over to this room.
I
We
understand.
have to open the door, so when you're talking about
Right.
needed space,
Right.
it's more than.
Right, this
This is
isn't
the
by program, this is just literally in the building, so it would be this room plus the part of
I
that
thought it
room that's
was
used for
4,000
program plus.
total
So this
square
is total in
feet,
the building, how much
4,000
space
square
is
feet.
it? Do one number when we're done.
Total,
Total is including the hallway?
I think total is like somewhere in like the 6,000-ish range. I think program space, we're down into the 4s.
4,000.
Yeah.
Like it's
Okay.
somewhere between 4 and 4,700. So I
That
mean,
makes sense. Rosemary.
total, because total space is including the space out there, my office, to the elevator.
So,
I like it.
I'm pulling up my notes from when we spoke to the architect, and they had said currently we're about 6,000. And when I look at the different concepts that we had looked at, when we had our last meeting.
With
the
these?
GM.
Okay.
Sorry, Nancy.
Yeah, that one. So I wrote
Rachel actually came out and measured the spaces because she was here with facilities. Were you here for that?
No, but I also know, because I talked with her individually on the phone, that some of what she is using on that chart is not measured by program space.
I'm just letting you know that.
No, I know.
The very first meeting with her engineers and
We
our
talked-
facilities, she
we
measured with her little laser.
Yeah,
thingy.
we talked about.
So I think we should have at least twice what we have.
Well,
I
that's a
don't
good,
think that's gonna happen.
Well,
Well, when
I
you
know.
look at all the concepts that they proposed, and I wrote down all the square footage for all of them, 21,000 square feet, 14,000 square feet, 14,000 square feet. Like, they were all
Wow.
26,000 square feet, so we're only at, what did I say, 6?
Yeah, it's a gym, it's a gymnasium, the walking path and the whole bit. And that's why I said we're really not gaining.
The other thing.
It might be newer and more up to date, but we're not gaining space for growth.
The other thing that I questioned in it, and it was on the original diagrams, and after I asked the question, I haven't seen it since, they had storage space sketched out in some of the rooms, which we know we need, and I said, you're not subtracting out the storage space, and you're also not subtracting out the wheelchair accessibility space, which needs to be better. And my point was exactly yours. I don't know that we even have as much space left as we currently use. We need to know the answer to this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So-
Definitely need more
so,
space.
so can we, sorry, because it's like 7:45. We want to be on here by 8:30. So if we want to put a percentage on this, or
It
an
kind
X
of goes
number,
with the third row.
Hmm?
It kind of goes with the third row. That was what I was trying to get at.
the third one down.
Yeah, what's the
Space
space for X
allocation.
percent growth? And I don't know what the X percent is. I'm sort of saying, oh, maybe what we need to do is just ask them what percent growth rate, because I've been raising this question from the very first meeting. Are you planning? And I've gotten no answer to this yet. I mean, if you just looked at the number of population of 60+ people now, and you look at that roughly 8,000 by 2030 number, that's a 10% increase in the total. So if all that happened is that we proportionately at the same sort of level of participation rate we have now, we would need at least 10% growth. Everything we've heard also says when you get a nice big new shiny building, you're gonna get more growth suddenly. So 10% would be a very conservative, I think, growth rate. I'd say 20, go 30 even to be, remember, this is gonna be it for the next 20+ years. We need to think ahead, yeah, probably forever.
So we use a lot of the same space over and over for all different things. Turning the rooms over, you shouldn't have to turn rooms over.
Yeah, well, that's why I said X%. I didn't know what number we want to agree on, but I've not heard any discussion of it in any of the meetings yet from the H&A, and we have to answer that
I
question.
went back to the original plans, and they had proposed 3 different concepts of the Pleasant Street
Yeah.
Center.
Yeah.
They took one out because the one concept had the kitchen on the second floor.
Okay,
Yeah.
So we decided that was just
okay.
a very bad idea.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were to do it here, and we did something with the gym for the seniors only, and then additional space, maybe they design that, if need be, that gym facility could be divided.
So that was discussed, the question then is just, with the high ceilings in the gym, how amenable is it to any, we're getting into evaluating
Okay.
again, but we need to
Okay.
know, we
Yes.
need to have a proposed growth rate that's based on something, at least the 10% using those gross numbers from UMass.
You could
Or
say 10
better.
to 15% can go from there.
20% is probably better, but anyway, so,
Well, you know what?
and we need to know in the
It's-
3
it's-
sites, what is
It's
the
these
percent?
people sitting around the table that are developing a criteria. Now, we have to justify it, so we have to be able to say, yes, 10% minimum, but 20%,
optimum for future growth.
20 years from
growth.
now.
But,
technically.
and then they're gonna say, well, how do you know that? So
Because Chris is
whatever
gonna give
we
us
put
waiting
in here,
lists
But
for
this-
all the events
Yeah.
that people can't come to.
And when Rachel was asked a similar question on Saturday, she said, I think it was Situate, some town, might not have been Situate. She said no, it wasn't Randolph. She said they had a 300% growth rate when they opened the doors and then it went instantly.
Yes, she
And I've heard that ad hoc from when I've talked to people in other centers when they've opened their new ones too.
But
So,
then how quickly does it die down?
well, most of them haven't been open long enough to know too much, but we know the population's still growing meantime, so who knows?
Well, that's a big difference between 10% and 300%.
I understand, I
Yeah.
understand.
But that might have been just one site, a senior center site.
Well, again, we're getting into, somehow, and to Nancy's point, we're the people, if we don't stand up and say we need X, we're never gonna see it. So
Yeah.
far, I haven't seen it. And we haven't figured it out. So
So
we need to maybe even
let's-
have some
Right.
definite
So
alternatives how to
on
think about it.
68 Edinburgh, this building, they had 21,000 and 14,000
What?
and 14,000 for this site.
14,001.
square feet, I
Yeah.
do remember that.
Yeah.
Because the standard, most new senior centers are in the 14 to 15 or 12 to 15,000 square
And
feet.
she cited 16,000 the other day when she was asked about it. But also remember, we're building a lot of office space into this, which may or may not be in all those others. So anyway, we need to think about this very critically and probably
Yeah.
offer some alternatives to make at least one of them get met.
Maybe this is a good discussion
Yeah,
at a larger,
that could be.
council on aging. My thought is that this would not be a group, we wouldn't put anything out here to vote on.
Right.
That it would go
Not
to
tonight,
the
anyway.
standard, even though we could, because we have a forum, but,
I think we need more than a night to think about.
what
it.
about, so how about if the top, the first
So if you
three?
had a quorum, did you,
Yeah.
everyone in? Okay,
Yeah.
just checking.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah. Sorry, just now thinking about that.
So how about 1, 2, and 3? We all say there needs to be some hard numbers in there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we don't know what they are yet.
No.
And we need some further discussion. on
Yeah.
that. Okay. So let's go down to the next one, sufficient administrative office space. And again, someone could ask is, what is?
What is
sufficient?
that?
And I would turn to our administrators for advice on that. What do you need? We hear you asking. Tell us
Who
what you
needs
need.
space? Maybe you start with like the who.
Yeah.
You need space, Elise needs space.
How many administrators are there?
Right.
How much space do you
Can
need?
spaces overlap or not overlap?
Is everybody here at the same time? Can you share an office?
But
Those are
also
the things I think you'll
consider
get the pushback on.
increasing the programming and more people will probably work here, so for future
Exactly.
roads to have those rooms available.
I think they should be bigger than 10 by 10.
It's like the keep
It's like
growing.
a prison cell.
Not, no, that's not yet.
Not now,
No.
you know.
10 is.
My other
bedroom.
concern,
Yeah,
Chris,
10 by 10 is like
and
a
maybe
cube,
you could
That's
think
what
on
I
this.
said.
Do you think the nurse, would need a
Closed door.
closed door, maybe for medical assistance?
Yes.
That's
A separate-
included,
is
that's
that-
included in all of the
Almost.
confidentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's included.
Because you have this partitioning moving around, that's not private.
No, it would be
Some-
dedicated.
Something I didn't think to put on here that I thought of afterwards was conference room. Because then that helps with the office size issue. If you know, like a family's coming in for a discussion, there needs to be room for. Anyway, a conference room would be a nice
Oh,
thing for,
right,
for
yeah.
any number of
There
purposes.
are, in some of those designs.
I know,
The two bigger
right,
lots, there's a conference room.
Right.
but There's no conference room here. So you have to think about, if you want more space for the offices, if you want a conference room, it's gonna come from the program. So you have to think about that. It's going to come at the expense of program space, so there's a lot of,
right. But it just for terms of comparing, we might find two of them got it and one doesn't, so we know, and it will all add up when we get to that stage. It'll wash, but I would add
Well,
conference room to the list.
Also keep in mind on that, if it's here at the Pleasant Street Center, office space, a lot of the room sizes change depending if we have a gym or not.
Mhm.
So, because if there's no gym, we get more space in certain areas.
There's no gym, we get more space?
Yeah.
Is that
Right,
because
yeah,
we
right.
turn the space into
Like-
space instead of gym?
You might
Yeah.
have two
Yeah.
activity rooms.
Like right
Right.
now, like if you don't have a gym, at offices are gonna be around 1,000 square feet. If you have a gym, they go down to 700 square feet.
in office.
But I think in total
Oh.
office space. So,
Was that on the Saturday?
So do you want to-
presentation?
yeah.
Okay, this was number of office spaces, to make sure that we're not losing actual spaces. Doesn't sound like we can determine how big the offices are, but we can say that we want to make sure that everyone who has one now has one, right, plus.
Yes.
The volunteer coordinator, so
Mhm.
she's sitting out in front of Anna. So right now you have what, 1, 2,
We-
Joe downstairs.
We also
3,
have a pretty-
4.
Also, to let everyone know, we have a pretty big staff compared to most surrounding towns. We're very fortunate on the number of staff that we have. Most towns do not have the number of staff we have.
What is your
Even
staff?
if,
What is the count, Chris?
what's that?
How many staff?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 full-time, 6 full-time, 1 part-time.
Are you counting Carrie and Elise? and
Yeah.
stuff? Okay, so they're not senior citizens that work here, but
Yeah.
7 to 10 dedicated office.
Well, no, there's senior center.
I thought they were HR, human resources.
Well, that's why I'm the elder and human services
I noticed
administrator.
Okay.
Not just elders.
Right.
Yeah, I always thought it was the human services group as opposed to elder.
You don't want to have to pick up everything with yours, because you're coming in after me.
But those other
But
two
that
don't
is so
necessarily have
common
those people
now.
grouped the same way. as
I mean,
senior
that's,
staff.
it's shared office space. That's what big
If
companies.
you just ask
do.
their senior
And
center
so
staff.
they
Personally, yeah.
I understand, it
It'd
just,
be nice to have a big office.
it's not diminishing the
That
senior
is
center
not-
staff.
Not at
It's
the
diminishing
expense of
people.
And if they don't
Yeah.
need
Not that they don't serve seniors.
one-on-ones with, our cubicles possible for those people who just have like a dozen.
And was Rec gonna bring their offices into this?
They'd like to. They don't really have good offices. They're
Right.
they're big clients.
That's there in the other two,
Okay.
but, should we say sufficient elder services office? I mean.
Well, if we're looking at it just as a senior center, it would be just,
Right,
but if you cross the slash,
and we will,
Yeah, so senior center.
we will.
so then it's dedicated,
Elder service.
elder services office
And I
space.
think there could be a separate rubric for what rec needs. And I would expect rec would have a sufficient administrative staff
But
as
they're
well.
not here.
And you would put the two together when you do the
Elder
big picture.
Sufficient elder services administrative.
Yeah.
office. And then we're gonna have a cafe.
That's further down.
I think that's a requirement.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, but do we want to say sufficient? Do we want to,
adequate?
No,
I
do
think
we,
it's so
do we wanna say
abstract.
7 to 10? Do we wanna
I
say?
think it would be better to actually list the roles that we think we need offices for. Because then it does away with the ambiguity of did you count rec, didn't you count rec, did you count?
She took notes
Harry
at
Ellis,
one
didn't you
meeting on
count? But
that.
let's just list,
So it might be bigger than this meeting.
Yeah.
yeah,
To break those down.
But sufficient, I feel like is a good enough.
okay,
Okay.
okay. And it could be the way we
Okay,
answer
fine.
it, and then you might fill the block with, here are the offices we've got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should list them.
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And actually have two extras of both.
Yeah, well, when we fill out the criteria, we can do that.
Sufficient storage for movable furniture?
This is the chairs that you hate in the big room.
Does anybody go to the Episcopal Church here?
John does.
Yeah, John does.
Yeah.
They have absolutely wonderful storage cabinets for their movable furniture. If you get a chance, go into the Episcopal Church, the lady's very nice, just say you're from Council on Aging, and go look at their storage cabinets.
I've seen that in another location,
Yeah,
open up and everything is full.
yeah, you can roll them out, anyways.
Okay.
We need it, that's the bottom line.
So the word sufficient is.
Sufficient.
Yeah.
It should just be storage.
Okay, yeah,
Oh, okay,
could be.
yeah,
In storage for programs.
yeah.
Storage.
In elder services administrative office space.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Commercial sized kitchen, I think we
Yes,
all agree, check.
I had a question about the 700 square feet versus the 1,000. What is it one cannot do in a 700 that would cause one to have 1,000?
I don't know, Nick.
Okay, we should get an answer to
Talk
that.
more about like cooking,
Classes.
I think I've
cooking
heard her
classes.
say we could still do it. I'd just like to understand it better, that's all. Because the model here is 700 and it's still commercial, but she says it's the smallest possible to be considered commercial. There must be something that comes for 30%.
It might be the size of the
think so.
appliances.
It might, I'd just like to understand, anyway. Yeah.
No, we should go find where there's a 700 square foot and versus a
And look
1,000
at it,
square.
yeah. I know I have a friend in Wellesley and they had a community center and they found that had senior in it and they found they had underestimated what the seniors needed, so they built a senior. But one of the two reasons the friend that told me about this said that drove them to it was their kitchen. They had underestimated the need for the kitchen for the seniors. And the other was the need for just places to sit and do things. Just, place where you could sit, have coffee, do a puzzle, plan to rob a bank, whatever, floats your boat. There just weren't places in the,
Not ours.
yeah, not ours. There weren't places like it in their design for the community center. And those are things they fixed with the senior center.
Kudos to Chris. He had a cooking class here last week.
Ooh.
So it was well attended.
That's great.
Used the new stove. It was,
About 20 people, so.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
that's great.
And they fit well in that room.
No, it was tight.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Well,
tight,
and
but
the
the
kitchen.
Line.
kicker is no matter what space you have, you can always shift things around a little bit.
And that's
Utilize
700
big room.
feet down there?
No.
Okay.
She said 300.
I thought it was
No, the one we've got,
uh,
the one they're proposing will be seven.
Yeah.
She said ours, I think, was around 300 or 400.
no, the one that,
They're proposing is, I thought she said.
if it's not here, it's 1,000 square
Right, right.
feet. If it's here, it's
700, she said.
700.
Which she said it's the smallest possible.
Yeah, actually, the instructor said that, it was tight, and if she did it anyways, we're off topic here, but, yeah, people couldn't do it on the kitchen, it was set up outside too, so that's what the demo was.
Okay.
Food was up, okay. Next one is a room big enough to seat 150 plus at a sit-down dinner.
The number you offered at the one about 3 months ago.
150.
Do you like that number still?
I mean,
I
even-
had proposed 125 and he said, I like that.
how big is that?
I think it depends upon if you have a gym on that one,
Well, is
because
it-
I think the gym can
Cover that.
cover much more.
Or a grade.
Oh, this
or a
would, this
grade
would, this
ball.
would take care of it, because it'd be a room, the gym,
Is it
any
like-
room, doesn't say what room, would be
Yeah.
150 plus, but is 150 sufficient, or do you want a different number?
I mean, for maybe one event, if there's a gym, I think we can go over 150, and I think that's completely sufficient. I think for normal meals, I think, probably somewhere around 100, give or take, is probably pretty sufficient.
Now, Chris, is that something being catered or cooked here?
Well, I mean, those are all things that we have to figure out, and this is where costs come in, and, we may not, just because we have the space, I mean,
But my intent here was just,
Yeah.
how much space do we need for the tables and the chairs and whatever sideboard serving you might need?
Well, more than we have now, because he has a
Waiting list.
on every function,
Yeah.
and there's no room to seat people, and we're tight. on that one.
And so what,
You actually said that at one of the forums.
you said yes, Saturday.
Yeah.
for a sit-down dinner, what is the current maximum count?
So what I'm comfortable with, well, it's tricky. What I'm comfortable with is about 60, maybe a little bit more, because just for safety issues. Can you go higher to 70, 75? You can, but
It's very tight.
I don't want something to happen, like,
Yeah.
something happens, we have to get people away and service. So it's sick. I like to think of what we have right now as 60. If we had 100, it would be amazing, room for 100 would be
Now,
amazing.
And
does-
with the
how
waiting
does that work for someone who is handicapped and needs?
So we usually make sure we have a spot at the first table when you come in the door by the elevator. That way they have access to get to the elevator and out if they need to. So we usually try to keep that first area for wheelchairs or anything.
And we do have two people coming in the wheelchairs for lunch, and they sit on the end table. I've seen two people in wheelchairs.
We have one guy, yeah, we have some.
Okay, so the next is space with appropriate floors for exercise
Do we
classes.
leave this one at 150? Is that what you
What?
said? Do we leave that at 150 for now? Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Regarding the flooring, when we choose flooring in the future, please ask the instructors. The flooring we have downstairs is the worst type of flooring for our feet, our ankles, our legs. They all complain about it. So it has to be a floor special.
And it might even be the gym. I mean, personally, I'm like, why wouldn't we have exercise classes in the gym if we've got a gym? But we don't know if we're gonna have one, so wherever it is, it's gotta have the right flooring.
Well, if the gym can be divided in south floors, that's fine, but you can't take a portion of the gym and have Zumba and then still want to do a meditation class down there separate, so.
They can figure it out, but yeah.
Do we want to put a number on attendees for exercise classes? Do we want to say to accommodate classes?
What's the number of classes?
No, like a group, how big the current exercise classes are. We want to make sure the space will accommodate a certain number of folks that are
Oh,
exercising in
Zumba
a
classes
class.
we have down there, can have 25 to 30 people. per
I mean,
class.
it is packed down there.
So you probably don't, maybe you say multi, exercise rooms. I just say at least 2. So you could have them going simultaneously.
The other one might be in the gym or in one of the program rooms.
But again, if we have the room, we can offer multiple classes in a day
Yeah.
instead of just having one class a day.
Right.
So,
And the number comes back to that X% that we need to, we need to think hard about that.
Yeah.
So what amount of expansion do we want to prepare for and how
Also, another
articulate
point
that?
I want to express is we love that big room downstairs only because it has lots of windows and light. So I would say any new building should have windows and light. I know it's the position on some of the architect's drawings. The great room is almost like in the middle of the building.
Karen's painting can have a son.
And if it's an evening, we put on.
Moonlight.
It's
And
like-
I don't think we have a problem with accessible bathrooms on all floors.
No.
That's that all. Natural light in most rooms.
It gets to the sunshine.
Lounge area for companions to wait.
And read the paper and maybe have a cup of coffee.
I added
There's
this.
salad.
Coffee, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Nancy, one of the other add-ons I had after I sent it was best practice accessibility. The term is struggling to surface. It went from ADA requirements to premium, and now the most recent one I saw, I think, was better than ADA. If we could start calling it best practice accessibility.
Where
I would add it to this list. It's not.
accessible bathroom.
No, it's a new category.
The whole building
Yeah.
needs to be better
Best-
than ADA.
Well, best practice.
Yeah.
They're
No,
starting to
best
say better than ADA, but you could be better and still not be best practice. Let's just call it best practice.
Isn't that subjective?
Isn't it what?
I mean,
She's
my
adding
best
it.
practice is not your.
There are standards in the field. It's like teaching. There are best practices in teaching. And professional teachers will know lots of them. Professionals in accessibility will have concrete ideas of that. We also need space for programs that have no space. Floaters, like Shine and.
What? Shine is not confidential now. I don't care what they say.
No, it's not.
The walls don't go to the ceiling.
No, the
It's
walls
not.
don't go to the roof.
The walls don't go to
It's a
the ceiling.
partition. You can hear
Yeah.
it.
It's not even there.
Yeah, but people that are in there, no, that you definitely need Shine, would need their own office. So that's why we said 7 to 10, so there's the extra 3.
Yeah, when you're waiting, you can hear the conversation going on,
Yes.
except then the other people that are in there already.
Absolutely.
Anyway, they're floaters. We have floaters like that also need to have space. It should go on the list of rooms and it might be the conference room, it might be the kind of thing that could be used for. It has to be a real room.
Adequate drop-off pickup area where those who get rides to and from the center.
I think we should think of the front door to have some type of a permanent awning with the entrance drive close to the building and people could be protected and go into the building.
I think that was suggested at Oakland Road, but
It should go on the-
It should go on the list.
Would it be on the site plan or?
I think it goes on, well, it's on both really, because you need room to make a driveway for it and you need space to make the addition to the building for it.
Well, didn't she say at one of the meetings that there's going to be, if it's a parking lot, a parking level, there would be a special door?
Yeah. But we're getting into evaluating again, no.
and we all agree that some kind of coffee cafe,
Yeah.
sitting area would be good.
Yeah.
We need that.
Oh, what about, were we talking about the time a little bit?
Yes, we
Yes.
were.
Yeah.
We were.
That fell off the list a long time ago.
Well, that's because if we have the Friends of the COA, then we could have a motivation for the seniors to bring in their handed items, or as Linfield does, recycle items. And then any proceeds percentage goes back to the Friends.
And again, we can put that in there, but you just have to remember that those are the kind of things
That
that
could
will
be
be put
eliminated.
in.
That's where the weighting can help. I mean, that might go on the list, but it might get a low weight, but at least if it's there, it adds points.
But we need to generate income.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is good. I tell you what, over in Linfield, they use the one floor run for all storage, so always bring down items from the different seasons. Right now, they're all set up for St. Patrick's Day.
They line
And
up,
everything
they
goes
line
back
up,
Yeah.
they line up for Linfield.
Still.
But they do pay the water, right?
They do put
They
the.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I-
Part of the friends,
They got some issues.
No, they do. That's not bad. It's maybe to buy.
Can happen
It's
anyway.
pretty
A lot.
common. It happens a lot.
I know.
Also, that's what happened before we did this very well.
Because they.
I do, they have furniture, they have.
We can't
Amy
see.
called her,
Yeah.
very glad when we went over there earlier.
What else? So items 1 through 3 we really need to think about.
Yeah.
The first three. The fourth one down, we have to decide, do we want to put number of offices, space in there? And,
I think we should list the different offices that we need now and a couple extra for growth. What about the veteran? So he needs a private area. Because a lot of times he's sitting with a vet and go.
yeah, but he's over at town.
Is he?
Where?
Yeah, he's over
Town
at
hall.
town hall.
Yeah, but I thought they wanted to bring him here.
Well, if
the rec, I think.
rec moves over here, veterans would move over here.
Did we count the number of rooms we need to correct? We talked about administrators for the recreation.
No, I
She's got them on the rec side. They can add their little line in here.
Yeah, I would imagine that.
I mean,
would
this
have
is
their own
not,
list.
this is not us making up all the criteria. What else? Anything else?
So we want to think, probably no, but, personally, I would love, if we truly are going to have a community center, to my mind, that's much more than just rec. Not to put rec at a bad place, but it also is education. There is someone whose job it is in this town to deal with adult education. There are limited programs right now. There used to be one. I would love to see a community center that also had ongoing adult education programs.
Well, the public schools at one time, the high school,
Yeah,
had,
still have it.
but not to the extent that they
Right,
did here.
Right, right.
Although I do have to say, if you're not aware, they've really picked up their education. I've been getting emails and like for adults lately of programming, like they had and I don't know, I was really shocked. It's like I'm getting emails every week or two. And it's,
How do you? I want to know.
yeah, you have to sign up through the school, it's through the school. And,
If you don't have kids, you wouldn't know about it.
No,
But
at one time years ago, they would
They had a book.
publicize.
Yeah,
There
they
was
used
a
to come in the
book.
same
Right,
little
and
flag.
Okay, we digress.
Okay.
Anyway,
have-
Anyway, I don't know if we want to consider.
five-
We
it.
do have a website.
Five more minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Do we
Yes.
want to take this home with us tonight?
Yeah.
And think of anything else that we think would be critical when whatever group is making that decision on the sites or the, and the program, that we make sure that the seniors are taken care of. That is our mission.
I personally think that the Council on Aging ought to evaluate on these things as we each are asked to look at the sites. As well.
We had the conversation earlier, and what I said, and I don't mean to sound that it's going to be some kind of group. It's unclear what group it is, but it will definitely include the Council on Aging, and it will definitely include ReCal. And I personally think it should include town employees, but that's not what the town thinks.
But that's not what I'm saying, Nancy. We don't need to belabor it. I'm just saying, I think as we all look at these things and decide, we're going to the meetings, we're being asked to think, we're being asked to straw vote. As we ourselves think and compare, I think the individual Council on Aging people should use this to help formulate our own opinions. And the COA certainly should articulate an opinion, if we have one. We may not. It may be all over the board.
And that goes back.
That's not the decision,
that
it's just an
goes-
opinion.
That goes back to, and again, I encourage everybody to think about this. We may have very strong opinions about what we think seniors want. It's a collaborative, cooperative, balanced project. So, we want to make sure that as a Council on Aging, we are going to ensure the success of a new senior space. And so we just want to make sure we're aware of that and really think about it.
I mentioned this on Saturday, the group, keep in mind, we have people 60 to 100. So it's not, we have people who love pickleball, but I have people who like bingo. And I have everyone in between. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about and processing this. It's not just one generation. We have multiple generations that we have to keep in mind on.
And I think if we express that just within ourselves and even to others, because we're advocating for the seniors, a lot of the other groups, they hear a new gym, a new community center, oh yeah, we're going for it. But my concern is, I don't want the seniors to be forgotten in all of this. I want them to know that this is for the seniors. This is how it started out to be.
That goes back to its recount mission as well, is the seniors first.
Right.
We can't say that enough, because it needs a lot more attention.
I just thought of another thing for the site.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about outdoor spaces.
No.
And I remember even with Pleasant Street, they talked about the roof, roof possibilities. So yeah, outdoor spaces.
Yeah. Good.
And to Nancy's point about this, saying I first talked about it, we were thinking about what would success look like? In my mind, success would be every one of these boxes, and that's probably unrealistic, but in my mind, total success would be every box would be satisfied by whatever gets done, but this helps us see how close we are to that. But if you can think of other things that in your mind would make a successful senior center, we should add them, so keep thinking.
More land.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jean. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Where's John? John, speak up.
What John said.
Second.
I just unmuted. I'll vote yes, but somebody's got to make the motion.
All right, so do you need to do roll call, or is he, if he's gone?
Sorry, John. Oh,
Motion
yeah.
to adjourn.
No. Rosemary already did.
Oh, no, John
second.
said something. Sorry, John, the speaker turned off automatically. I apologize.
Oh, he's still there?
Is John?
So we
are you
do
there?
need to roll call.
When you're in bed sleeping, which is.
John Parsons.
Yes.
Adjourn?
Yeah.
I'll give you.
Night, everybody.
Karen. Marilyn.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Jackie. Jean.
Yes.
Nancy. Karen. Rosemary. Adjourn.
Done.
So Nancy, you working tomorrow?
Yeah. 2 to 9. Are you working in the morning? Yeah.
So they've really been.
Oh, what do people think of?
Can we talk?
Yeah, what do people think about having a regular meeting?
Are we officially done?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, bye, everyone.
Bye.